insert myself into the moment when I need to in order to get the shots that I need to, but I will, as much as possible, just be in the background, letting them enjoy their day. And not, I mean, most people aren't comfortable being photographed, you know, so it's, they're going to have a better day and be more relaxed, and the pictures are going to be better.
Our next speaker is Suzy Clement, and she is a wedding photographer. And she is, I think, in the San Francisco area, similar area to where Mark is at. And she also raises her family full-time. And we're going to talk about the business aspect of wedding photographer and how it is to have a family that you also have to take care of. So what do you do? Do you go part-time? Do you just totally quit? How do you make that income during this time? So I'm going to get Suzy on. So Suzy, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with everybody your expertise. And I know the status that you're in, but you know, we're going to talk about the business aspect of it. So where are you at right now? Where are you talking from?
Oh, I'm talking from my living room. I live in Alameda, California, which is, you're right, just outside of San Francisco, just over the Bay Bridge.
Nice. And have you been in San Francisco all your life? Are you from San Francisco?
No, I'm from the East Coast originally, but I moved to San Francisco in 95. So I've been here longer than I have been anywhere else.
Wow. And did you start photography back in the East Coast, or did you start once after you moved to?
No, I started after I moved. Yeah. And when I first came, I actually had an office job for a while, and did the photography kind of on the side, and then was able to, you know, drop the real job and go for the photography.
That's the big topic for me in my head, right? Dropping the real job and into photography. What's that transition point? What made you be like, boom, I'm going to go full-time photography?
Well, if I'm honest, it's that the company that I was doing a whole bunch of layoffs, and I saw an opportunity. I was like, I would prefer to get laid off and be able to get some, like, you know, unemployment for a little while instead of quitting my job. So that was really the impetus. I mean, I had been doing weddings and stuff for a couple of years on the side, and so I felt really ready anyhow. But if I'm completely honest, that was what sort of gave me the kick in the butt to really get out the door and do it. When opportunity knocks, you answer the door.
You need to have that. Yeah, right. I also got fired from my job like multiple times for like the weirdest of reasons. And you're right, that having your back against the wall just forces you know what, I need to do this full time. And it's so much better not to have a boss to, like, you know, oh my God, you're 5 minutes late, where have you been? You know, so yeah. Like, it's nice to be your own boss. So
well, I mean, I actually requested to be laid off. So I didn't actually get fired, but I was like, hey, could you do me a favor? If you need to lay people off, I volunteer.
Yeah, I feel like I was on the same boat. And then you have so many months to get paid and train and transition into become photographer, right?
It really helped a lot.
Yeah, let's hope that, you know, everybody who has a job gets laid off and become a photographer, right? Blessing in disguise. They're like, yes, I'm laid off.
Probably a pretty good chance of that happening these days, unfortunately or fortunately. I don't know.
So when did you start wedding photography? When did you start wedding photography? How many years ago was that?
Oh, it was over 20 years ago.
Wow. And how was the business back in 20 years ago? I'm close to about 8 years ago too, when I started.
It was completely different. I mean, I feel like such a dinosaur to say this, but
no,
you know,
we're the same age.
Okay, good. You know, it was before people had websites, so people would literally call me on the phone and say, describe your style. And depending on, you know, what I said would determine whether we would have a meeting or not. And then I would, you know, show them examples. So it was a completely different world.
Right. Were you shooting on a film camera when you first started?
Oh,
or
yeah.
were you
Totally film. Yeah. And I stuck with it for a while, even after digital started, because digital really wasn't very good for a while. So I wasn't an early adopter. I waited for the digital to get really good before I made the switch.
Yeah, and it's amazing how nowadays when people bust out their film camera, that's like, oh my God, that's art. People get really surprised.
I know, it really, don't get me started. It really cracks me up that there are advantages and disadvantages to both film and digital, but I do think as someone who had to use film and deal with all of the challenges of it, it's kind of funny to see it, seen as such a I don't know, nostalgic, or like you said, it instantly elevates it to a different level. Or so it's pretty entertaining for us old folks.
Right? Yeah, it makes me look cool, I think. I don't know. At least to us, we think that we're cool. So that's pretty cool. So how was the transition to digital? Did you feel like you were using the same kind of techniques, or when you started doing digital, did it shift your whole style? Did it change everything?
No, I was using the same techniques. I mean, there were some little things to change in terms of, how to shoot. On film, if you blow out a highlight, you can burn it in. There's something there, you can get it back. On digital, if you blow out a highlight, there's literally no pixels there. You can't get it back. So, there were a few small adjustments like that, but for the most part, it was the same.
And you know what I noticed about back in the days, right? 15 years ago and so on, wedding photographers would all tell me, and we would make like $5,000 easy, right? But nowadays, a lot of wedding photographers are making a lot less because maybe because digital SLR is a lot easier to obtain and learn. But I feel like the average price for $5,000 has come down to like $2,000 to $3,000. And did you feel that from back then to now? Did you feel that personally?
Where to value yourself in the market is always such a difficult question. By the time digital was really changing everything, I was, pretty well established as, a high-end wedding photographer, and I was commanding a pretty nice fee. But I definitely saw the change that happened with digital, where it became the bar of entry into the industry really changed and became so much lower. You didn't actually have to know that much about photography. You could just sort of pick up a camera and, spray and pray, as they say, just shoot 4,000 images and you'll get a few good ones. And so, I definitely faced that whole thing of the price points coming down, and people, there were just so many more people who were doing it for a lot less money. And I know, a lot of people do it for so little money that I know they're not even making any money. It's really hard to compete with someone who's not making any money when you need to make money. Yeah. But if someone's just doing it as a weekend warrior or something for fun to make a couple $100s, it's really hard to compete with that as a career, photographer. But I think that's where you have to bring in, a really well-developed individual style, bringing something really unique and unique to the table that, that just not anyone is going to be able to bring.
And is that exactly what you did? You really focused on your style and try to stand out from the rest to grow your business?
Yeah, I mean, my style really has not changed in 20 years. And I'm actually I feel like I can look back at the sample albums I was using 20 years ago, and I'm still really proud of them. They actually, they hold up, they don't look dated at all. My style, I feel that my style is very classic and romantic and authentic. I never really plugged into too much into the different trends and fads that were going on, a little bit maybe on the edges, but for the most part, it's always been really important to me to just actually really capture the authentic, beautiful moments, capture all the emotion and everything that's happening, and also make it pretty, but not manufacture a fake moment or, yeah. So anyway, I've always stuck with that, and I think that it has served me well, because that's what people really hire me for. They understand that that's what they're going to get with me, and that's why they hire me.
Nice. And did you ever decide to expand your wedding photography business by like hiring shooters? And then if there's a gig that you cannot personally do you hire the other photographers to shoot for you? You edit and things like that. Did you ever expand the wedding photography business beyond just shooting by yourself?
I did have an associate shooter for many years, just one person. I'm kind of a control freak, and so it felt really uncomfortable to me to just, like send people out without feeling totally comfortable that they were going to represent my brand the way that I would want it to. But I did have one, very trusted photographer friend who had been a second shooter with me for many years, and so we did set up a structure where she was at a lower price point than me, so she was able to take some of the jobs, with clients that couldn't afford my price point, and yeah, that worked really well for a while.
I thought that too. I thought that it's so hard to expand your own business if you don't have a shooter that you can trust and they know your style and you know their style. Because I've known of companies that would hire just anybody and then there's no quality
Yeah.
control. And the sad thing, like you mentioned earlier, was that a lot of people would hire photographers because they saw a nice photo that they have on their social media. I'm like, oh, he's a good photographer. But once it comes to weddings, it's so different from just shooting a person out in the park that I had a customer last week tell me, oh my God, we hired a wedding photographer. She never shot a wedding before, and it was a disaster. Like she didn't know what to do. Because throughout the whole day, as a
Yeah.
wedding photographer, you're leading the day, right? You're pretty much the wedding coordinator for the whole day, right? And then, so I
I'm
wanted to
not
share.
actually.
Yeah.
I don't actually work that way. I'm
Mm.
more. I try to be fly on the wall as much as possible. There are a couple of parts of the day where I do step in and I'm large and in charge, like doing the family shots or the group portraits. Like either before or after the ceremony. Obviously, I'm gonna just crack the whip and get everybody in line for those so we can get them done quickly. And the other part is when I take the couple aside for portraits of just the two of them, then obviously we're working together and I'm giving them a lot of direction. But aside from that, I'm honestly going with the flow and paying a lot of attention to what's going on and just capturing what's actually going on. In the weddings that I shoot always have a planner, so there's always someone there doing that. There have been times where, there have been moments like maybe during getting ready when the planner wasn't there that I have, kind of put that hat on a little bit and helped move the schedule along or whatever. But for the most part, I don't actually take on that role.
And do you let the customer know that you're not going to take on that role, or and like what your style is ahead of time, or when you
Yeah,
come in? Actually,
that's a benefit. That's one of my selling points is that they're just there to enjoy their day and I'm just there to capture it. And I'll insert myself into the moment when I need to in order to get the shots that I need to, but I will, as much as possible, just be in the background letting them enjoy their day and not, most people aren't comfortable being photographed, so it's they're going to have a better day and be more relaxed and the pictures are going to be better if I'm back a little ways and they're not constantly aware that there's a camera in their face. So it's actually it's actually one of the reasons that people hire me. So I'm really low key and very bring a nice calm energy and just capture what's actually going on, because we chatted a little bit about this, that I think that is the biggest service that I can do for them, is to capture the real emotions, the just all of the nuances of what's actually happening. That is all. It's such a fascinating story. It's so beautiful. It doesn't need me to embellish it with, like, I don't know, just inserting myself to change the lighting or anything. It doesn't need that. It just, all I need to do is be there and be aware and capture what's going on. And those are the moments. I hear this from clients that I've, from years ago that I've shot for, that when they look back at their images, they're like, I really remember what it felt like to be there. It's like it puts me back in that moment of that day. And that's like the highest compliment that someone could give me. That's my goal. And that's what brings me joy in doing this work.
I think I just learned something from you. when I shoot weddings, you could tell I'm just a little aggressive, and I'm kind of like putting people in places. And I think it's nice to just sit back and let people enjoy themselves. And I love that tip. I'm gonna try to do more of that and let people enjoy their wedding instead of like, guys, come over here and take photos here, and try to set them up with this.
Everyone
fake
has a different style, and there are clients who want that. So if you're connecting with your client and that's what they want, that's great. This is just what's worked for me and the clients that choose me, and the planners that I work with, and the other vendors that I work with. That's my shtick. That's what I do. So everyone has their shtick. Maybe, I'm sure yours is different than mine.
Right. We're all different. So I wanted to just let everybody know where we could get your book, and if you have anything to share, so we could get people, because at the end I told everybody they're going to get an email with everyone's link and their books and things like that. Where can we find your information?
Well, I happen to have a copy of my book that I can show you.
I didn't really that big. Damn, that's awesome.
Well, I think it's not that big, but it's huge.
It was an illusion. Okay.
So you can get the Kindle version on Amazon, and actually to get a hard copy, you're going to need to email me directly. So it's Suzy at SuzyClement.com. And I can set anybody up with a signed copy who wants one.
Cool, thank you. And I have to admit, like, I made the mistake of just allotting 20 minutes per person, and I thought it was a lot, but it's definitely not a lot. There was so many things I want to talk to you about, but later on, if you don't mind, if I could connect with you again and just do our own little video and just kind of talk more details about weddings, I would really appreciate that.
Sure. Yeah, I'd love it.
Yeah. All right, Suzy. So thank you so much for stopping by. And I hope you're doing good during this crazy COVID times. I know they're about to shut down again in California. So we're going to be wonder what's going to happen. So I will talk to you later.
All right. Thank you so much, Mian.
All right, Suzy. Bye.